Whether it's a heroic last stand or a routine encounter that suddenly descends into bedlam, there's something ineffably compelling about a doomed mission on the silver screen, and the war movie genre has treated us to a heck of a lot of them. I'm Ewan, you're watching War Culture, and here are 10 incredible war movies about doomed missions. Number 10. Black Hawk Down. Chronicling a desperate fight for survival against the backdrop of the Battle of Mogadishu, Black Hawk Down retains beloved status among film fans for its unflinching and harrowing depiction of modern warfare. Spearheaded by the great Ridley Scott, Black Hawk Down boasts one of the most star-studded casts that the war genre has to offer, including many unknown names at the time who went on to become some of the biggest stars in Hollywood. It's actually quite ridiculous how many names there are here. Like, we have Tom Hardy, Hugh Dancy, and Ty Burrell of all people, who shows up in a minor role, while the big hitters in the cast include Ewan McGregor, Eric Boehner, Tom Sizemore, and Jason Isaacs, among many, many others. The movie itself centers on American efforts to capture two prominent lieutenants of Mohammed Farah Aidid, and to say that the original mission didn't go quite according to plan would be quite the understatement. Not only did both targets escape, but they swiftly found themselves as a mere footnote in proceedings after multiple Black Hawk helicopters were shot down in battle. In short, Black Hawk Down dragged the genre kicking and screaming into modern combat. High contrast, unfiltered, and utterly gripping. Number 9. A Bridge Too Far. The 1977 epic war film boasts one of the most impressive ensemble cast lists in the history of cinema, featuring the legendary likes of Michael Caine, Sean Connery, and Anthony Hopkins, to name but a few. And also, Anthony Hopkins has a really cool mustache in this one, so that's a plus too. Based on the calamitous Operation Market Garden spearheaded by Bernard Montgomery during the final months of World War II, the movie dramatizes Allied attempts to create a bulge spanning into German territory. However, the objective failed after the Allies failed to capture the requisite 9 bridges, most notably coming up short in their attempts to secure the tactically vital structure at Arnhem. By the time the dust had settled in the Netherlands, approximately 15,000 dead, wounded, or captured soldiers stood as the conservative estimate of the operation's cost. Standing alongside the likes of Daryl F. Zanuck's The Longest Day as one of the most standout epic war outings of the 20th century, A Bridge Too Far is indispensable genre viewing. Throw in an exemplary screenplay from William Goldman and a host of memorable characters like Christopher Good's umbrella-wielding Major Carlyle, plus the likes of James Caan, Elliot Gould, and the GOAT Gene Hackman, and this sprawling World War II saga remains one of the very best. Number 8. Anthropoid. Boasting the considerable talents of Cillian Murphy and Jamie Dornan, 2016's Anthropoid is based on a daring plot by Czech resistance fighters to assassinate high-ranking SS official Reinhard Heydrich at the height of World War II. Now, ironically, Anthropoid is an outlier among its peers on this list in the sense that the movie's central mission did actually succeed. Heydrich did indeed die from his wounds after Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš successfully detonated a grenade under his limousine. However, there was to be no happy ending for the assassins in question. The resistance fighters and their allies were betrayed and cornered in Prague streets. Eventually overwhelmed by countless enemy forces, every member of the mission was either killed in the fighting or took their own lives to avoid capture and possibly a fate even worse. Despite the film's ultimately tragic subject matter, or perhaps even because of it, Anthropoid cements itself as one of the most essential films centered around the Second World War, released in the last 2 decades. Academy Award winner Murphy and Dornan are both on top form throughout proceedings, with their star power serving to gloss over some of the film's more prevalent shortcomings. Number 7. The Siege of Jadotville. Bringing an Irish Army unit's role in the titular engagement to life in electrifying style, 2016's The Siege of Jadotville dramatizes a major battle during the UNOC in 1961. Besieged by mercenaries in the employ of the Katanganese separatist forces, 156 Irish soldiers repelled countless attacks from a force that vastly outnumbered them. Remarkably, they did so without sustaining a single casualty, only surrendering after running out of food and ammunition. As such, it seems incredibly harsh in many respects to label the Irish defence as a doomed mission. But given the fact that the soldiers were later subjected to accusations of cowardice and incompetence after being released from captivity, it's hard to escape a notable sense of defeat to the proceedings. Not a single Irish soldier who served in the engagement received a commendation for valour, while the commander's reputation was permanently tarnished in the aftermath. As such, it's fortunate that Richie Smythe's gritty outing pays the defenders an appropriate tribute. Featuring an array of first-rate performances to complement a number of spectacular battle sequences, the Siege of Jadotville thrusts the viewer into this daunting engagement head-on. The Jamie Dornan-led flick occasionally seems to be on the verge of stalling slightly during prolonged lulls in the action, but swiftly rights itself every time. It's also the rare example of an exemplary war movie drawing attention to a lesser-known conflict, a refreshing take in a genre traditionally dominated by the World Wars, Vietnam, and the global war on terror. Number 6. Kajaki. While war movies centered around British soldiers were a dime a dozen in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, the Hollywoodification of cinema and the decline of the British film industry meant that, naturally, most genre efforts had a US focus, particularly when it came to depictions of modern combat. One notable exception to this rule was 2014's Kajaki, a British production that told the true story of the 2006 Kajaki Dam incident, when members of the British Army's parachute regiment fell victim to an old Soviet minefield while trying to engage a Taliban checkpoint. Kajaki, also titled Kilo 2 Bravo in Different Territories, isn't a conventional war film, boasting more in common with a horror flick on account of its invisible enemy and the spontaneity of its violence, and the end results are truly harrowing. Number 5. Das Boot. Widely regarded as the finest submarine film ever made, give or take Hunt for Red October, the 1981 German-language entry follows the titular German U-boat's ill-fated patrol during the deadly Battle of the Atlantic in World War II. Cultivating an indescribably powerful anti-war message, Das Boot was also years ahead of its time in terms of authenticity. Earning 7 Academy Award nominations, The Boat holds up seamlessly to this day, from the movie's nuanced character development and social commentary to its stunning set design. Effortlessly capturing the visceral tension and claustrophobia associated with the murky world of submarine warfare, this near-flawless maritime entry continues to age like a fine wine. Number 4. Fury. Focusing on the endgame of the European theatre from the perspective of the eponymous M1 Sherman tank's crew, few movies have ever produced such a visceral snapshot of World War II as David Ayer's Fury. Earning positive reviews to match an impressive commercial return, the 2014 war film is notable for being one of the finest genre offerings of the 2010s. And yeah, to say that Fury pulls no punches in its depiction of armed conflict doesn't even come close to describing the visual hell that Ayer wastes no time immersing his viewers up to their eyeballs in. In this sense, the film's innate quality comes across as even more impressive. Viewers want to avert their gaze, but find themselves transfixed despite the horrors unfolding on screen. While Ayer's picture doesn't revolve solely around a doomed mission, it does end that way. Befitting of the director's war is hell ethos, Fury's final act sees the crew defend the tank to the last man after it is crippled by a German landmine. Despite a valiant final stand against overwhelming forces, Logan Lerman's Norman Ellison is the only man left standing, or more accurately, cowering beneath the burnt-out husk of his tank. And yeah, it's a great ending. Number 3. They were expendable. John Ford is a legend of genre cinema, a myth-maker and myth-destroyer whose experiences during World War II had a profound impact on his legacy and work. One of the most notable examples of which is They Were Expendable, which premiered in 1945 and starred John Wayne and Montgomery Clift in the leading roles. Set during the Japanese invasion of the Philippines at the outbreak of the war in the Pacific, They Were Expendable follows the efforts of the PT boatmen who fought against overwhelming odds to slow down the enemy in a battle the US was really not ready to fight. That sense of unrelenting dread and the inevitability of defeat hangs heavy over the film, which serves as both a tribute to the PT crews and a stark lament for the sacrifice and loss of life incurred by the US forces in such a short space of time, concluding of course with the evacuation from the Philippines, which left a great many servicemen and women behind on the island. It's one of Ford's angriest ever films, one that attempts to reckon with a sense of abandonment and futility that few contemporaries at the time were willing to broach. As part of that post-war canon where the immutable weight of everything comes crashing down around you, it is truly unmissable. Please, please, please watch it. Number 2. Warfare. Announcing himself as one of the genre's most exciting new directors of 2024's Civil War, Alex Garland decidedly did not remove his foot from the gas for 2025's Warfare. Based on former Navy SEAL Ray Mendoza's recollections of a real-life disastrous encounter with insurgents following the Battle of Ramadi during the American-led occupation of Iraq, the film follows a supposedly routine Overwatch mission that swiftly morphs into unabated chaos. Clocking in with a superb Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter score of 93%, critics were effusive in their praise of this heart-pounding A24 war entry. From the exceptional performances of the cast to the raw intensity of the film's action sequences, Garland and Mendoza's work captivates, thrills, and horrifies in equal measure. And number 1. Cross of Iron. Sam Peckinpah was the master of Bleak, a cantankerous figure who cut his teeth defining the anti-Western in popular memory, with the Wild Bunch widely regarded as a watershed moment in the depiction of on-screen violence alongside Bonnie and Clyde. But Peckinpah didn't stay exclusively in the Old West. Among contributions to the thriller and drama genres, he also applied his unique brand of venom to the war picture, delivering an all-timer of an entry in the doomed mission canon with 1977's Cross of Iron. Starring James Coburn, Maximilian Schell, James Mason, and David Warner, who I love, Peckinpah's film was adapted from Will Heinrich's novel The Willing Flesh and lays bare the cold, unrelenting futility faced by Wehrmacht soldiers on the Eastern Front as the Red Army began its long advance to Berlin. Coburn plays a cynical but effective NCO, while Schell plays his vainglorious and aristocratic superior determined to get his hands on the film's eponymous commendation. It starts off bleak with an incredible opening title sequence and only gets bleaker from there, as men are torn up by the cogs of fascism and left to rot to satisfy the fantasies of an insane tyrant. Yeah, no prizes for guessing how this one ends. Doom permeates every pore of Peckinpah's film, and the end result is one of his strongest ever efforts.